Welcome to World English Academy, where we bring you inspiring stories to help you learn English naturally through storytelling. Today, we take you on an incredible journey, the story of Taylor Swift. From a small-town girl with a dream to one of the most influential musicians in history, her life is filled with lessons in determination, creativity, and success. Listen carefully, improve your English, and enjoy the story of Taylor Swift's rise to fame. The story of Taylor Swift. From small-town dreamer to global icon, Taylor Swift is not just a musician. She is a cultural force. Her story is one of ambition, resilience, and constant reinvention. From a country music prodigy to a pop megastar, and now a record-breaking artist reclaiming her legacy, Taylor Swift has carved out a unique space in the music industry. She is one of the best-selling musicians of all time, a songwriter of unmatched emotional depth, and a businesswoman who has revolutionized how artists take control of their careers. This is the complete story of Taylor Swift, from her childhood in Pennsylvania to the Eras Tour, the most successful tour in music history. Early life, a star in the making. Born for music, 1989 to 2003. Taylor Allison Swift was born on a cold December morning in 1989 in Reading, Pennsylvania. Her arrival brought light and music into the world of Scott and Andrea Swift, two loving parents who would one day watch their daughter grow into a global phenomenon. But back then, they were just a regular American family, living a quiet life on a Christmas tree farm in nearby Wyoming, surrounded by fields, pine forests, and the soft hum of nature. The Swift family farm wasn't just a place where trees grew. It was a wonderland for Taylor. As a little girl, she would wander among the rows of evergreens with her younger brother Austin, pretending she was in a magical world. She built forts out of branches, imagined creatures living in the woods, and invented stories that stretched far beyond the boundaries of her small town. Taylor had a vivid imagination. Even before she learned to write, she was already a storyteller. Her parents often caught her talking to herself, not in a worrying way, but in a way that showed her mind was always busy, always dreaming. She would sit by the window with a notebook, drawing pictures and scribbling words. By age 5, she had started writing full sentences. By 7, she was creating poems that surprised her teachers with their emotional depth. She wasn't like the other kids. While they played tag or watched cartoons, Taylor was reading books far beyond her grade level. She was especially drawn to fairy tales and classic stories. She liked how they took ordinary people on extraordinary journeys, how they made heroes out of simple characters. That idea stuck with her. It planted a seed. What if I could be that person? What if I could turn my stories into something more? Music was always playing in the background of her life. Her mother sang around the house, and her grandmother, Marjorie Finley, had been a professional opera singer. There were old recordings of Marjorie performing in elegant theaters across the country. Taylor loved listening to them, imagining what it must have felt like to stand on stage, dressed in a gown, pouring your soul into every note. She admired her grandmother deeply, not just for her voice, but for the emotion behind it. Still, opera wasn't Taylor's style. The music that truly captured her heart was country music. She felt a deep connection to the honesty and storytelling in songs by Shania Twain, LeAnn Rimes, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, and the Chicks. Country music didn't just sound good, it felt real. It talked about small towns, big dreams, heartbreak, love, and growing up. Taylor didn't just listen, she studied. She dissected the lyrics, paying attention to how a story was built verse by verse, chorus by chorus. At school, Taylor was quiet but not shy. She was observant. She noticed everything, how people treated each other, how emotions changed in a single glance. She didn't always fit in. Sometimes she felt out of place, especially when other kids didn't understand her passion. But she learned early on how to take those feelings and turn them into something creative. When someone hurt her feelings, she didn't just cry, she wrote. When she was happy, she wrote. When she was confused, she wrote. Writing became her way of understanding the world. At 9 years old, she began performing in public. Her first shows were local talent competitions and karaoke nights. She'd wear sparkly clothes and sing her favorite songs, not just for fun, but with determination. There was already a seriousness about her, a hunger. Even then, people noticed something special. She didn't just sing, she performed. She made you feel something. The turning point came when she was 11. Taylor convinced her mother to take her to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. Armed with a homemade demo CD, she walked into record label offices on Music Row, handing out copies and hoping someone would give her a chance. Most people didn't. Many doors stayed closed. Some were polite. Some said she had talent, but needed to grow up a little more. Others simply said no. But even at 11, Taylor didn't see rejection as failure. She saw it as part of the process. She went home with more drive than ever. And then, a completely unexpected event changed her life. One day, a man came to fix the computer in the Swift household. As he worked, he noticed Taylor's guitar sitting nearby. She told him she wanted to learn how to play. To her surprise, he offered to show her a few chords. Just a few simple ones. But those chords were enough. Taylor couldn't put the guitar down. Her fingers hurt from the steel strings. They turned red, then blistered, then calloused. But she kept going. Her parents had never seen her so focused, so inspired. She learned quickly, not just how to play, but how to use the guitar to tell her stories. She started writing songs, combining her poems and emotions with music. Her first full song was called Lucky You. It was sweet and simple, but powerful. It was her voice, unfiltered and real. From that moment on, songwriting became her heartbeat. It was what she did after school, before dinner, late at night when everyone else was asleep. Her bedroom walls were covered with lyrics, and her journals filled up fast. She wrote about everything: crushes, friendships, growing pains, insecurities, and dreams. The guitar became her best friend, always there, always listening. When Taylor was 13, something extraordinary happened. She signed a development deal with RCA Records, one of the biggest music labels in the world. Most teenagers would have been overwhelmed, but Taylor stayed grounded. She knew she had to keep working, keep writing, keep learning. Her family saw how serious she was. And so, in one of the most important decisions of their lives, they chose to move to Hendersonville, Tennessee, just outside Nashville. They left behind their home, their farm, and everything familiar so Taylor could chase her dream. It wasn't easy. They were starting over in a new place, but they believed in her. And more importantly, she believed in herself. By age 14, Taylor Swift had written hundreds of songs, performed across the country, and stood at the doorstep of a music career. But what made her different wasn't just talent. It was her work ethic, her fearlessness, and her belief in the power of words and music to change lives. She was still just a girl from a Christmas tree farm, but her story was about to go global. First Steps in Music, 2003 to 2004. By the time Taylor Swift was 9 years old, she had already developed a deep love for music. She wasn't just a child who liked to sing. She was a performer. At local fairs, karaoke nights, and school events, she took the stage with confidence, her blonde curls bouncing as she gripped the microphone and poured her heart into every note. While other kids her age were nervous in front of crowds, Taylor felt completely at home. The stage wasn't a scary place, it was where she belonged. Her parents, Scott and Andrea Swift, could see that this wasn't just a hobby. Taylor wasn't just singing for fun. She had an intensity about her, a focus far beyond her years. But it wasn't until she saw a documentary about country music superstar Shania Twain that everything clicked. In that documentary, Shania spoke about her journey, how she blended country and pop, how she wrote her own songs, and how she believed in herself even when others didn't. Taylor sat glued to the screen, mesmerized. That was it. That was the moment she knew. She didn't just want to sing other people's songs. She wanted to be an artist. She wanted to write her own music. She wanted to tell her own stories. She started taking voice lessons and performing even more. Every time she sang, she paid attention to how the audience reacted. Did they smile? Did they tear up? She realized that music was more than just sound. It was a way to connect with people, to make them feel something. But something was missing. Taylor had the voice, she had the passion, but she needed an instrument to bring her words to life. At 12 years old, Taylor received an unexpected gift. A computer technician named Ronnie Kramer came to fix her family's computer, and while working, he noticed Taylor's interest in music. She had a guitar in the house, but she didn't know how to play it. "Do you want to learn?" he asked. Taylor's eyes lit up. Yes! He showed her 3 basic chords, just 3. But those 3 chords unlocked an entirely new world. Taylor's fingers were small, and at first, it hurt to press down on the steel strings. But she didn't stop. She practiced for hours, her fingertips turning red and sore. When she got frustrated, she didn't give up. She just kept going. And then, something incredible happened. Just days after learning those chords, Taylor wrote her very first song, Lucky You. It wasn't just a simple melody, it was her own story, her own emotions, captured in lyrics. She had discovered something magical, songwriting. From that moment on, Taylor was unstoppable. She wrote constantly, about everything she saw, everything she felt. If she had a bad day at school, she turned it into a song. If she had a crush, she wrote about it. If she was feeling lonely, she put it into music. Songwriting became her way of making sense of the world. Taylor's next big step was Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. She had heard stories about how aspiring singers went to Nashville to chase their dreams, and she was determined to do the same. But there was one problem. Taylor was just 12 years old. How could a young girl from Pennsylvania get noticed in the biggest country music city in the world? She had an idea. She and her mother, Andrea, recorded a demo CD of Taylor singing cover songs, her best attempts at country classics. Then, armed with a backpack full of CDs and a heart full of hope, she convinced her mother to drive her to Nashville. When they arrived, Taylor did something bold. She walked straight into the offices of major record labels along Music Row, one by one, handing out her demo CDs. She wasn't scared. She was determined. But reality hit hard. Every label turned her down. Some were polite, telling her she had potential but needed to come back when she was older. Others barely gave her a second glance. The doors didn't open. No one seemed to believe in her yet. It would have been easy to feel crushed. Many people would have given up. But Taylor was different. Instead of seeing rejection as failure, she saw it as motivation. If Nashville wasn't ready for her yet, she would work harder. She would write better songs. She would practice more. And she would come back. Taylor Swift was just getting started. Moving to Nashville, 2004 to 2005, at just 14 years old, Taylor Swift was ready to do something most teenagers could only dream of. She was about to move to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. Most kids her age were worried about school dances, friendships, and weekend plans. But Taylor was focused on something much bigger, becoming a professional musician. She wasn't just a girl with a guitar. She had a dream, a vision, and an unstoppable work ethic. But to make that dream a reality, she needed to be where the music industry was. Her parents saw how serious she was. They had watched her spend hours writing songs, practicing guitar until her fingers were raw, and performing at every local event she could find. She wasn't just talking about a music career, she was living it. So, the Swift family made a bold decision. They packed up their lives in Pennsylvania and moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee, a small town just outside of Nashville. It was a huge risk. Scott Swift, Taylor's father, transferred his job as a stockbroker to Tennessee. Andrea Swift, her mother, took on the role of Taylor's full-time supporter and manager, driving her to meetings, performances, and writing sessions. For Taylor, this move was everything. It wasn't just a change of location. It was the start of something bigger. The youngest songwriter at Sony. The competition in Nashville was fierce. Thousands of young singers arrived every year, hoping to be discovered. But Taylor wasn't like the others. She didn't just want to be a singer, she wanted to be a songwriter. And that made all the difference. Instead of waiting for someone to give her a chance, Taylor started writing songs every single day. She studied the craft, learning from experienced Nashville songwriters. She wasn't just writing for herself. She was learning how to write songs that told stories, songs that could connect with millions of people. Her hard work paid off. At just 14 years old, Taylor became the youngest songwriter ever signed to Sony Publishing. This was a massive achievement. She was now part of the same publishing company that worked with some of the biggest names in country music. For the next year, Taylor spent her days going to high school and writing songs after class. While other kids were studying for math tests, she was in songwriting sessions with industry professionals, learning how to turn emotions into lyrics that could move people. But something was missing. Taylor didn't want to write songs for other people. She wanted to sing them herself. The Bluebird Cafe, a life-changing night. One evening, Taylor performed at the Bluebird Cafe, a legendary Nashville venue where songwriters showcased their work. Many country music stars had been discovered there. It was a place where record executives, producers, and industry insiders came to find fresh talent. That night, sitting in the audience, was Scott Borchetta, a music executive who had just left his job at a major record label to start his own company, Big Machine Records. As Taylor took the stage, she strummed her guitar and began to sing one of her original songs. Her voice was raw, emotional, and filled with sincerity. But it wasn't just her voice that caught Borchetta's attention, it was her presence. She wasn't just another young singer. There was something different about her. She wasn't imitating anyone. She wasn't trying to fit in. She was simply Taylor Swift. After the performance, Borchetta approached her. "I'm starting a new label," he told her, "and I want you to be my first artist." At that moment, everything changed. Taylor Swift had just signed her first record deal. She wasn't just a songwriter anymore. She was about to become a star. The country music sensation, 2006 to 2012. 2006. Self-titled debut album. At 16 years old, Taylor released her first album, Taylor Swift. It was a mix of country and personal storytelling, setting her apart from other young artists. The album featured 5 hit singles, including Tim McGraw, a song about young love and nostalgia, Teardrops on My Guitar, inspired by an unrequited crush in high school, Our Song, a teenage love anthem that became her first #1 hit on the country charts. Her music connected with young fans, making her one of the rising stars in country music. 2008. Fearless, the breakthrough album. Taylor's second album, Fearless, was a massive success, turning her into a global superstar. Featuring timeless hits like Love Story, a modern Romeo and Juliet-inspired love song, You Belong With Me, an anthem for outsiders and dreamers. Fearless sold over 12 million copies worldwide and won Album of the Year at the Grammys, making Taylor the youngest artist in history to win the award. At this time, she also started making headlines for her personal life, including her relationship with Joe Jonas, which later inspired the song Forever and Always. 2010. Speak Now, Taking Control. Taylor's next album, Speak Now, was remarkable because she wrote every song by herself. This album, filled with emotional highs and lows, featured hits like Mine, a song about finding love unexpectedly, Back to December, an apology song rumored to be about Taylor Lautner, Enchanted, a dreamy ballad about a magical first meeting. Speak Now was another massive success, selling over 1 million copies in its first week. At this point, Taylor had fully established herself as a dominant force in the music industry. Transition to pop and global domination, 2012 to 2018. 2012. Red, a new sound. With Red, Taylor began experimenting with pop music. The album included We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, her first #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. I Knew You Were Trouble, a rock-influenced song about heartbreak. 22. An upbeat song about being young and carefree. But one song stood out the most, All Too Well, a heartbreak masterpiece widely considered one of the greatest breakup songs ever written. This era also marked Taylor's high-profile romance with Jake Gyllenhaal, which inspired many of the album's emotional tracks. 2014. 1989. Full pop reinvention. In 2014, Taylor made a bold move. She left country music behind and fully embraced pop with 1989. The album included massive hits like Shake It Off, Blank Space. Bad Blood 1989 was one of the biggest albums of the decade, selling over 14 million copies and winning Album of the Year at the Grammys. This was also the era of Taylor's relationships with Harry Styles and Calvin Harris. 2017. Reputation. Fighting Back. After a public feud with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, Taylor disappeared from the public eye for over a year. She returned with Reputation, an album filled with dark, edgy themes. With tracks like Look What You Made Me Do, Delicate, Taylor reclaimed her power and transformed her image. The Businesswoman and Legend. 2019 present. 2019. Lover, a new era. With Lover, Taylor returned to bright, romantic themes. It included songs like Me and Lover, 2020 to 2021, Folklore, and Evermore. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Taylor released two surprise albums, Folklore and Evermore, exploring indie folk sounds. Folklore won Album of the Year, making her the first woman to win 3 times. 2023, The Eras Tour, the biggest tour in history. In 2023, Taylor embarked on the Eras Tour, which became the highest-grossing tour of all time. With 14 Grammys, over 200 million albums sold, and a legacy that continues to grow, Taylor Swift is one of the most powerful artists of all time. Thank you for joining us at World English Academy. Through stories like this, you're not just learning English, you're experiencing language in a way that's engaging and memorable. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next story.